Hail, Internet! It's Paul, it's Matt! The Dork Lords. We're here talking about Peacemaker. Season 1, episodes 1 through 5. Catching up. Just to catch us up to where we are. This show picks up where the movie Suicide Squad leaves off. So, spoiler alerts for the movie. But Peacemaker kills Rick Flag, appears to die himself. However, in the post-credit scene, we see that he's recovering in a hospital. So, this series picks up with he, in fact, does recover in said hospital, and he's released, and he's expecting to go basically immediately back to jail to finish off his sentence, but no! Instead, he's recruited by a Black Ops team, backed by Amanda Waller, for Project Butterfly. As we learn later in the season, they're basically trying to stop a plague of parasitic winged insects from taking over humanity, Paul. Which actually feels
supposedly.
A little bit, yeah, good point. Feels a little bit like the Starro plot from Suicide Squad, in that you had starfish latching onto people's faces and controlling them like puppets. Yeah. Here we have butterflies, invading people's brains and controlling them like puppets. I guess the big difference would be that you could see the starfish.
Yes.
You can't see the butterflies.
No, you can't.
Unless you've got X-ray vision helmet.
Yes.
Which leads us actually to the end of episode 5, where Leota picks up Peacemaker's X-ray helmet, sees that Myrn, the project leader, indeed has a butterfly in his head. He charges her, she drops her gun, and we're left on a cliffhanger at the end of episode 5. That's where we leave off. So, that said, as we get to...
by the time you see this, you may know.
That's true. What happened in that... We can guess for now, but yes. We are a little late to the party. I mean, they dropped 3 episodes at once. We were in the middle of doing Boba Fett and The Expanse, and we're just, we're just 2 of us. We're just 2 people, Paul.
We're only human.
There's
nothing in our heads. You have to take our word for that.
Right. What we need is a butterfly in our head that could actually do some of the editing, probably faster than I do. Yeah. That'd be great. So, Paul, all that said, before we launch into specifics, what do you generally think of episodes 1 through 5 of Peacemaker?
I enjoy it. I like the series combination, or I should say, balance of humor and superhero drama. And, you can even further delineate the superhero drama from the interpersonal drama that I think it handles rather well. In some ways, I feel like it's good to have the competition for Marvel because in some ways I like how this is handling story and character more than the Marvel shows. And
so this is James Gunn, and it does have that feel a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy, but this is HBO and DC, so it's a little more R-rated. A little there's some raunchier stuff. There's some more shocking violence.
Yeah.
You just chainsaw from the back of a giant talking gorilla. I don't know what you're talking
about. Just nudity and people actually fornicating in front of you. I don't know.
Otherwise Disney Plus.
Yeah, otherwise,
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the show very much as well. I do. I like the comedy. I'll talk a little bit about maybe where like a little cautionary tale about perhaps if they overdo the comedy, but at the moment I think they do have the balance right. And it's enjoyable to watch as you kind of want to see where it's going. You want to see these characters interact, and their conversations are silly. Look no further than the opening intro, right? So they have an intro which is a dance with all the cast members come out and do a dance, and it's like a dance. My wife who is a dancer mentioned, she's like, that's the kind of dance you teach to people who don't dance. But it's great.
I consider it.
It's got this it's like done in like this black box theater kind of thing. It feels like it's like you're at a live theater of about 100 people. They got some neon, in the back, and they're doing these community theater dance moves, and it's great. It really does set the tone for what this is, which is absurd. Yeah. It is an absurd show. And so that intro is great. It really sells it. Plus, it keeps this theme, much like in Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got, the soundtrack of that show. Here, the soundtrack of this show is basically like 80s hair metal bands.
Yeah.
Because it feels kind of thing that probably Peacemaker grew up listening to. Like that's his wheelhouse. Poison. He's like, oh yeah, Guns N' Roses. So that's his thing. It makes sense and it works again with that somewhat. I mean, hearing those 80s hair metal songs now, it almost sounds absurd in and of itself as well. So it lends itself to this crazy feel of the show, which I like. So your team, Project Butterfly, is Peacemaker, obviously.
Yes.
With his sidekick Eagly. I love the name. He has a pet eagle named Eagly,
which does not escape derision from the rest of the team.
Does not. I'll say this. I thought they might go the route of like he's just an eagle and he bites Peacemaker as much as anybody else, but no, Eagly is a devoted member of the Peacemaker team. Waited for him while he was in prison and is like he's right there with him. So good on you, Eagly. Then he's got his kind of human sidekick, Vigilante, who's kind of a psychopath essentially.
Self-nominated sidekick.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I'm like, yeah, okay. He actually has skills, though. I'll say that. Like in terms of fighting, his fighting ability is good. It's not just that he's a hanger-on. Then you've got Leota. I think really if I were to say the two central characters of this show, it's Peacemaker and Leota. I feel like those are your two, and partially because both of them have terrible parents.
Yes.
And they're trying to cope with that. So in Leota's case, her mom is Amanda Waller. I'm getting the idea it's a secret because nobody seems to know. So I guess she's secretly Amanda Waller's kid?
Yes. Yeah, because people making reference to the fact of why she's on the team. That's why she's on the team.
That's why she's on the team. And Amanda Waller mentioned she has skills, and we see her abilities kind of manifesting themselves. She's very good at manipulating Vigilante, for instance, which maybe is not that hard, but she does it.
And it's a question of whether or not she's really manipulating, Peacemaker.
Right. She does this thing. Amanda's like, you got to plant this evidence, this diary in his trailer. And while she's conflicted about it, she does it because her mom told her to. And I think it's similar with Peacemaker. Peacemaker is trying to come out from the shadow of his terrible dad, August, who is also known as the White Dragon. And he's
never
a terrible racist and a terrible person. And so both of them have these terrible parents. And they're trying to figure out a way to... I think this series, and maybe even just this season, is how do they defy their parents or get past that. Then you've got Harcourt. You've got John Economos.
Yes.
Who we saw in the movie in
both Harcourt and Economos we saw.
Right. They were both in the film Suicide Squad. Small parts, but they were there. Myrn is the team leader, and he's got a butterfly in his brain.
Yep.
He's
the one who directed them passionately to kill the creatures with butterflies in their heads, and ironically, he's the one who has one.
Which I want to come back to. In my theories, I've got a theory on
in
him
Matt's
a little
theories
bit,
section of the show.
Dun, dun, dun. We mentioned Peacemaker's dad. The other person who I think of note that doesn't quite meet the main cast, but I feel like is very important, is Judo Master. So Judo Master is the bodyguard for a senator who's been inflicted by the butterflies. They almost kill him a couple of times. Hit him with a car, shoot him in the chest. He's still around. But also because he is in that opening song, right? He's the one that in the intro, he does this big he jumps up and Peacemaker holds him, and it's like.
Well, the janitor from the first episode we have
that's
seen
true.
Again is also in there. Yeah.
I just feel like there's maybe. I feel like that might indicate a turn, a heel turn for him.
Maybe so.
Perhaps,
maybe the janitor will be there when that happens.
He's been hanging out with the good guys long enough that maybe now, I don't know. Oh, you shot me, you ran me over with a car, you chain
We're
me
good?
down.
Are we good?
Are we good? We're good? Okay. He does have this very, before he gets, before Leota shoots him, he's like, look, you don't understand. The butterflies, they're not what they, whatever. Like,
What they appear,
shot.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether she shot him because he was about to say something, I think she just shot him, but,
Yeah.
if she was Amanda Waller, she would have shot him to shut him up.
Yes.
So basically one of the central questions of this show, I think, is Peacemaker a hero or a villain? Right? I mean, I think in the Suicide Squad, the movie, he's pretty clearly a villain. I mean, he's there to do the bidding of Amanda Waller, even if that means killing our heroes.
And women and kids.
And women and kids. And he mentioned that's his kind of credo. It's like, I'll do peace. I get peace to whatever the cost, no matter how many people I have to kill to do it. Like, okay. And he's struggling with this. His dad's neighbor is constantly pondering that question. Are you a hero? Are you a villain? He's always in costume, so he's walking around. So it's like, no, if you were a hero, you'd have this coterie of villains. Like, well, they're all dead. I shot them all. So anyway, I mean, we get the opinion that he is trying to be a hero. He does, unlike his dad, who seems like he's just beyond fixing. Peacemaker, is a person who wants to do right, but had this terrible influence, and so it just totally affected his, the nature versus nurture thing, I guess.
One of the things that Gunn likes to do is show created families. So not because you were born into them, but because you decide to become friends with people. At least in terms of Guardians of the Galaxy and this.
That's a great point.
He likes that
analogy.
theme there. Yeah, and so as this group, like the last episode or two especially, was showing them sort of bonding.
Harcourt puts them onto like a little Facebook group or whatever, and they're sending pictures around and
but that mission when they, it was sort of doubtful they would survive going into that hold for the butterflies and whatever, and they're like, weren't even sure, like, we don't even know, like, oh no, they're all butterflies, and so they bonded over that really, and are starting to warm up to each other to the point where Peacemaker is willing to call Economos by his actual name.
Right.
And people are starting to he's starting to be challenged on his things that sort of push people away, and so he's becoming more considerate of the people around him, and so Leota is doing actually taking the time, which you could argue was sort of improbably. I mean, I guess maybe she saw the kinship of having a bad parent, although I don't know the extent that she's still sort of awkward, and I don't know if she's really dealt with the fact that her mother is problematic. So those characters, we're seeing them on a trajectory, on an arc, and you're interested. You're right. It made me think about the fact that those are the only two parents of the main characters that we've seen, which is interesting.
Yeah, and great point about the similarities to the family created in the Guardians of the Galaxy. Right. This certainly is. They're creating this group. They're bonded over their love of Hanoi rocks. There you go.
So you made me think about the whole question of how Vigilante and Peacemaker approach their quote-unquote do-gooding, to contrast it with other superheroes. And I think, as we discussed before, in terms of, we see a lot of violence in superhero movies and TV shows, and it's sort of assumed that some of the actions they take that aren't lethal. When if you think about, a number of the actions, it's kind of hard to see how they couldn't be lethal.
Correct.
It's just that no one actually said, "Oh, that guy's dead. Oh, that guy's dead."
You blow up a car with a bunch of people in it. You figure somebody probably died. Somebody's probably dead.
Throw something heavy to somebody, and or throw them down a flight of stairs or whatever,
or throw them through a plate glass window or whatever.
Yeah. So it's interesting how people are calling out these two for their behavior when It's,
Well, it's interesting.
The whole question of a vigilante, the problems of it is not merely that it's violent, but how unaccountable they are.
Well, it's interesting too. The neighbor brings up the Batman thing. It's like to Peacemaker. And Peacemaker's point is like, oh, Batman should kill everybody. Yeah. That's why it's actually worse. That he puts these people in prison, he lets them get out, they kill a bunch of other people. He just shoot them.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, interesting point, but also the Batman from the DC universe. I mean, did he see the Batman from Batman v Superman? Because that guy was shooting guys. So it's interesting that they're almost referring to the Batman from the comics, because I feel like the DCU Batman does shoot people. But anyway, maybe.
I mean, he might be shooting them in their legs and in their arms.
There you go. Right. Non-lethal.
He's just putting them into the hospital, not to the morgue.
Okay. So that made me actually think like, well, maybe they're in a different universe where Batman doesn't use guns, but no, I don't think that's it. But they did a whole bit on the Mandela effect, where they were doing the Berenstain Bears.
Oh, right.
And so I thought they were going to lean into like, we're in the universe where it's the Berenstain Bears, which is what everybody thinks it is. But no, I was like, oh man, it would be great. But no, you're actually right. Oh no,
Berenstain Bears universe.
Yeah.
We got Prince's latest album.
Right. Counterpart reference. I like it. That was, anyway, for those who don't watch Counterpart, they had two universes, and the way that we would keep track of which one was which was one of them, Prince was still alive. And you're like, oh, he just made a new album in that universe. The comedic scenes are fun to watch, like when they start riffing on the number of famous people's names that you could have framed instead of my dad. It's a funny bit. Or the bit
it's the interesting characteristics of these shows is how the post-credit scenes are all just, extended bits.
Yeah.
Comedic bits from the show.
They're not, they're more like back in the day, I remember there were these kind of comedy action movies. I'm thinking of like something like Cannonball Run or something like that. Where it would just show the silly outtakes at the end. It had nothing to do with like, next time on Cannonball Run 3. I was like, nah, and this kind of feels like that, where like, this is the extended version of the scene we chopped up, we edited for the actual show. The bit where they're talking about how ducks can't wear human suits and all that. I mean, it's very silly. It's just you run the risk. I think if those scenes go on too long, it becomes like a joke instead of a story. It becomes a little disconnected. I remember actually, I was in an improv class, and I had a 2-person scene to do. And we started riffing on, I think, action movie tropes. And it was going really well. We were like, we did this really silly thing, and people in the class were laughing. And I thought to myself, like, hey, I'm mining some comedy gold here. And then the scene's over, and the teacher's like, well, okay, this is a funny conversation, but who were you? How did you meet? Where were you? Why did you, why was today important? Like, you didn't answer any questions, that you were just standing there being ha-has. And so it's kind of like, so jokes versus story. I want this to continue to be humorous. I just wanted to make sure they stay on the story, which they're doing for now. And, that might be, overly cautious on my part. I just feel like I could imagine where if you just turn this up a notch or two more on the extended joke thing, that you might sacrifice the story for that if it was a danger of that. But they, James Gunn seems to know there's just that pressure point of joke to story ratio. So
sure,
good on you, sir. A couple of theories for you, sir.
Go ahead, let it rip. I'm not sure that I have any theories.
One theory that I think I've actually seen elsewhere, so I'm not going to take credit for it, except to say that I was thinking it myself, and I looked it up to see if other people are, and I'm like, oh, okay, other people are too. That Myrn is not an evil butterfly.
Oh, that's okay.
That when we cut back, he's not going to be attacking Leota. There's going to be some kind of some kind of standoff where we learn that he's actually siding with humanity, basically, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's his particular butterfly is the Spartacus butterfly. I don't know. But it just seems like if he was, in fact, working for, whatever the giant evil butterflies.
Yeah, the Butterfly Collective.
He wouldn't be attacking them the way you mentioned. He's seems to be very, very committed to the idea of killing off the butterfly folks. We get this conversation he has in this last episode with the guy, I think his name is Locke, the guy who ends up imitating the sheriff. And Amanda Waller sends him in to kind of fix situation. That conversation they had, they're like, oh yeah, we did some bad stuff in Black Ops back in the jungles of so and so, and Myrn says yeah, I've changed. I changed since then, which to me is into a butterfly head. But if that's the case, that means he's been a butterfly this entire time. It's not like last episode he became a butterfly. So
I think dramatically, although we'll find out, we'll discover that he's been a butterfly the whole time, and it's possible he's he's a dissident or something,
Right, because you would think if he was a butterfly the whole time and he's trying to solve all these problems in which they don't have a lot of people, like their team is really small, and he's always commenting, we've only got 5 of us, whatever. It seems like if he was of the butterfly ilk, he'd just be like, let's just have some butterflies up people's noses and we're fine. The solution is pretty obvious if you're in that group.
You should okay, the first meeting, everybody sit here, with your eyes closed.
Exactly. Everybody, right. So you're in the dark. Everybody open your mouth. Let's all sing. Let's all sing a song. All right, good. We're good. So I feel like, for that reason, I feel like he is, for whatever reason, opposed to the big problem, as opposed to being a part of it in some way. Peacemaker kind of name checks at the very beginning, Project Butterfly. What does that mean? Is there a Mothra? Do I get a jetpack? And they're like, no. I'm like, maybe? I could imagine by the end of this season, last episode, we might see a Mothra. We might see the big butterfly, whatever, matriarch or something.
It's possible, I would assume.
And you'd probably need a jetpack to get up there to fight the Mothra.
That's another one of your theories?
I'll go with a theory on that. It's more of maybe a hope. I don't know.
All right. Let's see which one you feel like, wagering bad candy on.
I'm going to wait on the candy for one more episode on this one, though. I think that because Peacemaker and Leota both, I think, have an arc where they're going to have to deal with their parents.
Yeah.
I think in Peacemaker's case, we've been introduced to this white dragon costume. They talked about it. They pointed it out. It's in the secret lair.
Yeah.
I think we're setting up for Peacemaker versus his dad.
Oh, sure.
And maybe I'm trying to think his dad is a little older at this point.
Right.
I mean, maybe he's still got the moves, but I'm thinking maybe his dad is affected by a butterfly. Maybe butterfly dad in the costume fighting Peacemaker.
Dramatically, I think that's not as powerful, him finding somebody. I mean, we don't know if it's possible for, once the butterflies out of these people, if
that's true.
If they can turn, although I think they've said they're corpses, but
that's a good point. That you'd remove the tension of, oh, my dad is this figure that I look up to, when he's just like, oh, well, now he's just a zombie with a butterfly in his head, so right. I can kill him at will. It's a good point. Good point. It's probably, if he's going to fight him, he's going to be fighting him on his dad's own terms. But I think that's coming. Anyway, just throwing that out there. Physical battle, father and son in costume.
Neither, he doesn't have to declare to him that he's, I am your father. He knows.
Yeah, that's true. Some fun Easter eggs. They threw out some characters from the comics. Matter Eater Lad.
Yes.
We saw that one of Peacemaker's foes, at least, was Kite Man, who is a villain in the show, which is cool. Obviously, he insults both Batman and Superman throughout
yes.
the show.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing that an aspect of his character, which exists in our own culture, which is to believe the fantastic rumors about celebrities that are being piped around. So all these weird claims he can make about popular superheroes, about their proclivities, and
right.
they've already sold it. The fact that he's inclined to believe incredible rumors, which fits
Conspiracy theorists, big time.
Yes.
We have the Charlie the Gorilla, which is kind of a nod to Gorilla Grodd. Also is proof that the butterflies don't need humans, right? So the butterfly
correct,
went into the gorilla and made him talk. And I was like, holy crap,
right.
Okay. So
a lot of people, at least I can imagine people were wondering if this was Grodd, who has appeared in the Flash TV shows, I believe, but he's an old ape.
If he survived the chainsawing through the back,
but probably not.
Probably not. I did also enjoy Economos' PowerPoint. I thought that was a funny gag. The PowerPoint and then them making fun of his PowerPoint was pretty good. I like that too.
You give that comedy props.
I do. And the action scenes are effective. They've got some fun fights. John Cena obviously can, I assume, do at least a bunch of his own stunts.
Yes.
It's fun action. So.
Yeah.
The fact that this team is changing both Leota and Peacemaker seems like it's changing Peacemaker for the better. It might be changing Leota for the worse at this point, in that she's basically put a wall between herself and her relationship. Move out! I need for your safety. She's shot somebody now. She's like she's putting herself into a world. She's becoming more like her mom, essentially.
Yeah. Sure.
And so I think she sees it, though. I don't think she's blind to that. And so I feel like there's going to come a moment where she's going to decide, I can't. This is not me anymore. I don't want to do this. But at the moment, she still put the diary down there. She's still, she's still in that mode. She's got a secret from everybody, so there's only so much family she can do. Where she's hiding something from them. One last thing, Peacemaker. I was the original Peacemaker, Paul. Years and years ago, played one of those online games. I think this was City of Heroes, if I'm not mistaken. And in that, we had a Western-themed team, and I was Peacemaker, but it was P-I-E-C-E Maker. So that I could shoot you and turn you into
just
pieces.
This close to having a lawsuit.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Woo! But anyway, anyway, we'll be back talking about episode 6, and we're getting close to the end of the Boba Fett series as well, or season as well. So come on back for that. Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir.
Sure.
You're welcome. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.